republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Harvard Community Church.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Barrington.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Charks. Here. Smith.
Here.
Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher. McCardle.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll start off. I entertain a motion to go into executive session according to South Dakota Codified Law 125-23 legal.
So
Motion by Mr. Rice. Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We'll go to my chambers.
how you doing? Good. Oh, yeah?
And I have nothing to hide, so. Here, I'll put I won't go into it. Anyway, so it was my politics. Yeah, it's sad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
They never asked me. Yeah, so I had no, just there. It was funny. He was like, There's 10 hours by yourself. I mean, I listen to we're out. Video and praise and worship music, podcast, no rain. And weather, the last 3 hours still being sick. And which took longer. Yeah. I didn't get to like 8. That my voice is
I'm still there.
yeah, I know, that's fine. It was fun. Thursday.
Good, how are you guys? Good.
And I came back so I got, after some of the
I don't know. I just want to, I got a cover button. So I'm just interested. That's kind of what we're here for.
I was looking through this agenda to see if there's anything
Sometimes they don't get their hand.
No, that's his wife. They got married. So, yeah, so she,
you're going to keep that exciting stuff to the very end.
she was really good. Yeah, he doesn't make any decisions.
Doing anything fun? You guys?
Trying to sell it. Well, I mean, Main Street, should have said it, that's around. See if they'll sell it.
Ran in, they had, Timberfest, is the Main Street. It's right here.
We were out of town, and I saw Jackie's video.
And of course, Jackie and Jean brought their dog along.
Dachshund run? Yeah, the video was
She's really because Bailey, if she sees Gina the other end, she's gonna go.
They had a strategy.
Yeah. have that same strategy. I guess Gene's talking about doing a fish fry and forget to fry up some of that fish that you guys caught last month. Because he and Jackie don't go through it and eat it as much as I would be gone already.
But it's, the same time that you have venison and all that. They hold up quite a bit better than freezing fish.
Shorter lifespan.
Freezer
was up there last minute, caught a bunch of fish and shipped it home to sell. And I'm sure with his family, he's probably got eaten up pretty fast.
Canada's way get rid of some fish. Yeah. Our fishing, we were up in just the same. Tough by their standards, not by our standards.
Well, yeah, the weather and stuff is kind of
It would rain, but it rains all the time. It probably rains 5 days ago.
No, I've been up there before, and that's okay. And when I'm afraid
The name is different. They are, but they're
And then we went to inland, both across the river, big part of it. It was really good.
I think Jackie would have enjoyed that. Of course, it was a time where her leg was but now she's really good. She's out walking.
It looked like, I got their gait was good. She
She's been on therapy and stuff. She's ready to go dancing this winter. Elf too out there with Gene,
I had a couple. I was one of those guys, I applied for years, building reference, and I get drawn, I never get drawn. So then, I just gave up, I just lost all my reference control.
Is the cow license, is that a, well, in terms of, can you get it here, or is that also kind of rationed out?
You gotta wait 7 years to get another two. We don't.
But chances are you.
It's quick from Betty's.
I went to one of those 2 years ago. Well, split a year against, buddy of mine used to live out there, now actually it's been out there, it's extended season.
Okay, we're out of executive session. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion beginning the formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove? Any discussion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Sharp, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address any of the consent agenda? Roll call, please.
Sharks.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle. Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address mayor and members of city council on an item that's not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations will limit 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken this time. Does anybody wish to address us? Mr. Bender. Why did I know that was coming?
Well, you seen me working over there.
Come on up.
Okay, so I had a trial last week, which was pretty cool. Jury selection. There was a guy who told the story about how me and my wife gave him and his elderly mother Thanksgiving dinner while they were quarantined for COVID. And that was kind of humbling, and it made me smile. And I couldn't have planned it better myself, I guess. The rest of the trial, well, I'm not even going to talk about that. But since we're on the topic of jokes, Dave Chappelle, he's being canceled because he's being funny and telling the truth. He told the story about his transgender friend that was ridiculed into killing herself, and so they're ridiculing him for it. You know, Kyrie Irving, he's risking $35 million because he doesn't want to take a vaccine because he doesn't trust people that have oppressed his people and historically tested, you know, nasty things on him. But there's a girl in town who's risking 35 grand as a teacher, and she's fighting for her job right now. That's here in Mitchell, you know, and she's no less courageous than with that 35 grand than Kyrie Irving. And I just want to get something clear here. We're okay with the threats and intimidation and coercion that these people put on their employees, right? I mean, as a city, this is what we're going to do. Has anybody spoke out against her losing her job or any of the coming mandates coming on these nurses and doctors and all that stuff? So anyway, we don't need more discontent, unemployed people around here, do we, Chief? There's been plenty of violence around here. I don't want to see any more of it. What I would like to see is more of like, you know, get your lawyers involved, you know, have them dream up some stuff, maybe a sanctuary city against these types of mandates on the people. I'd like you to protect the individual's rights. That's what I'd like to do. That's what I'd like you guys to do for our city, you know. Don't be Republicans. Actually use your political power to maybe make some changes for the individual. Everybody has the opportunity to get this shot, whether they like it or not. My personal opinion is I don't trust these people, any of them. So, you know, and maybe even use the money that you're saving from me not suing anybody so that you can make some different programs or something like that. I don't know, but help these people. Maybe you can use that money. Just look at it that way. You're saving some money. Make some programs to get some kids into the rec center. Give them some free time there or something. Maybe 15 days to get back in shape, something like that. Actually spend that money on these kids, and then maybe it'll turn into 150 days or 2 years so that we can get these kids healthy and happy again, all right, instead of sitting in front of the computer and doing this nasty stuff, all right? And Bob, next time I run out of time, can you say, "No time left for you"? Can you do that for me? I'll get a kick out of it. Come on. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, Sonia Vanderwick from Mitchell Township. I'm going to kind of piggyback off. I was a witness, actually, for Reed's trial, and so I missed out on a lot of the testimony because I couldn't be in there, obviously. But what I found interesting is the whole thing that came about was it comes down to our constitutional rights, and it affects everyone in this room. And the reason why Reed got put in the situation is because not even a policy at the school, it's actually a protocol that's actually unconstitutional. When you do a mask mandate, no matter where it is, it's not a law. It is usurping the Constitution. And so what we have is a problem of lack of education. Are our children being educated on the Constitution and what it really means? Are our lawyers being educated on that? I've talked to several lawyers that have no clue what laws have been violated through all of this. And the only reason that, I mean, if you were at the meeting where Reed was at, that he was sitting in the front, not doing anything wrong except not wearing a mask. And that was not against the law. And so what I think we all need to realize is that just because someone makes a little policy, even though this wasn't a policy, it was a protocol, they don't have the right to muzzle you and entrench or encroach on your First Amendment rights. Each one of us here has First Amendment rights, and that's the right to religion, to speech, to peaceably assemble. And going to a meeting without muzzling your face should be peaceably assembling. And so I want you to remember, whatever you hear in the media, whatever you hear in regards to his case, that is just an example of someone wielding their power to subdue and quiet people. okay? And you've probably heard about the School Boards Association throughout the country trying to make parents that come to school board meetings and speak out as to be terrorist type. And it's very interesting because that is the thing that we should all be working towards. Because like the City Council, you guys are donating your time, you are working hard, you're doing work that a lot of people don't want to do, and quite frankly, we're thankful for that you are willing to do that. But it's also serving the people. And if our school boards and our schools and our councils are not serving the people and not remembering the Constitution, it's going to get even worse. I mean, New York and California are awful. The other countries are awful. All these mandates are crazy. They shouldn't have any vaccine mandates, all that. I was going to talk about some other stuff, but, and about the teacher. She was only verbally terminated. She has never been given papers for termination because she refused to wear a mask and muzzle her face in front of her children, and I commend her. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Okay. Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for the City Council recess to this Board of Adjustment.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. Wright. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing an action on application for Montessori School Mitchell. Montessori School Mitchell has applied for a conditional use permit for child care, preschool, and nursery at 620 East 4th Avenue, legally described as Lot 2, Block 31, Cooling, Guernsey, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property is zoned R2 single family. Mr. Jennings.
Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent with 3 conditions. Number 1, the permit is non-transferable. 2, if the business ceases to operate for 6 months, then a new application would be required. And 3, pass the fire inspection. Fire inspection was passed this week, so that would take care of that one. There were 2 responses in favor of this. There were no objections. It's a little different than our daycare that you usually see. It's just the age of kids is what it would be. There were no concerns from Planning Commission at all for this. The applicant is here if you have any questions for them at all.
Move to approve with the conditions set forth.
Second. Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mrs. Sharp. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing an action on application for Ricardo Cruz. Ricardo Cruz applied for a side yard on a corner variance of 0 feet versus 15 feet is required to construct a carport at 1320 South Raleigh Street, legally described as Lot 7, Block 26, University Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Real property zone R4, high density. Mr. Jennings.
Planning Commission made a motion to recommend approval with the condition that the applicant provide drawings of the structure for the plan review of the building inspector, and the applicant has 6 months to have the plan finalized for the variance is terminated and the structure be torn down. Motion failed on that one because it was a 3-3 tie with one absent. Discussion during this, applicant didn't realize that he was violating any zoning ordinances. He's put the steel posts in the ground. They were seen by city. He has provided a drawing since the last meeting, which is on the screen right now. Posts in the ground, it'll be steel above it. All of it will be welded together. He's going to put a gutter on the south side that would take care of any of the snow and rain that was a concern for dropping off onto the sidewalk and apron right there, which in the wintertime would freeze. It will not be enclosed at all. Some of the board members were happy to hear that because it will not restrict any more of the site triangle. The house would already be restricting any sites there.
Was it requested to have a survey done?
The survey would be part of a plot plan with it, yes.
Okay, because, and I want to talk, I'll bring this up to council, but if you want to approve this, we have to make sure we don't encroach. The last meeting, we had one that we approved, and there's actually an encroachment on that. And if we get federal dollars for either of the streets associated with that corner property, that encroachment becomes a big problem. We can't use federal dollars if there's an encroachment. So we want to be sure that there's no encroachment related to any of this.
So do we need to table this then?
Oh, well, I believe you
Until-
could, Mr. Johnson, they could approve it with that caveat, could they not?
Yes, and even with the last one that was approved, you only approved 0 feet. You did not approve any encroachment into the right-of-way. So it's not like the previous one can never be addressed. And you'd be doing the same with this one. You're only approving it up to 0 feet. You're not approving any encroachment.
I just thought it'd be easier to address this now rather than we happen to find the encroachment after the approval last time.
Mark, if his plans now are to go to 0 feet, and now we're requiring him to put a gutter on it, won't that certainly be?
That would be what the site survey would have to show, where that gutter would end up. We did take measurements of it, and it was around 12'3" to 12'4" from the back of the curb, but that's not saying that the road is exactly centered in the 66-foot right-of-way.
And what, the steel posts are right up against the sidewalk now?
They're a couple inches back from the sidewalk.
So the sidewalk, you're saying the sidewalk might be in the wrong place, or this structure is going to be in the wrong place?
Very likely, yes. The applicant is here if you have any questions for him at all as well.
Well, it obviously started without authorization. We're this far now.
So explain to me about, it's not going to be enclosed?
So it'll just be the post that'll be there with the roof over top of it. There won't be any sidewalls. Yes, it's a carport.
Will there be sides on, no sides, just a?
Just the
a
roof
lid?
and the post, yep.
At a corner lot?
It is a corner lot. I just measured it, and it is about 60 feet from the back of the sidewalk to the west to that first post. Site triangle would be, I believe in that area, it's 20 feet is what that has to be. So the house itself is already, the west side of the house would be more in the site triangle than what this would be. Yep.
I think you can also see on the picture, and I don't think this came up at Planning Commission, but if you look at the fence line, it's basically in line with the existing fence line, maybe a slight bit back, but
Yep.
roughly the same.
There were letters sent out to 17 neighbors. I seen 2 responded in favor.
There was one response in favor, which was the applicant. 2 was the previous application, unless I had that backwards in my my report.
Was there anybody at the Planning Commission that showed up, spoke to oppose?
There was no comment from anybody, any of the neighbors.
Are there any neighbors who want to talk on this? Okay. Do you have any questions for the owner?
Well, since there's nobody here to object, and I'll make a motion to approve.
And with some conditions that the survey that would be done is in accordance with the survey.
I want to second Dan for more discussion.
Okay, motion by or second by Mr. Merrick.
I think if I'm in favor of it, there'd have to be some conditions that it passes the survey, if that's the right wording, verbiage for it. That
What were they all going to do after that? You're talking about gutters? Is they worried about the gutters hanging too close? Is that what the deal is?
The gutters, it could be over the 0 foot, because any of ours, it's any structure that goes up to 0, can't go
Right.
over, and gutters would be part of that.
So if he puts gutters on it, they would be an encroachment, possibly. That's why we want a survey to make sure we
Correct.
don't have that.
and/or it may be the posts are in the encroachment now. We won't know until the survey is done.
So if you approve it, then he's going to be able to go up to that 0 feet. If he goes past that 0 feet, then he would either need to bring the structure back or I guess, remove what's already there if it's already encroaching.
Would it be better to table and have that, it seems to me like it would make sense to have the survey first, so that we know what we're dealing with?
I guess that's up to the council. Really that side of the equation can be handled administratively as we get that. I mean, we'll be able to identify whether it's over or not, and if it's encroaching into the right-of-way, then we'll be able to say that it's not going to be allowed.
I mean, from a design standpoint, would it be possible to put the gutter inside the 0 foot and make it that way so that it doesn't overhang? If the roof is going to slope down, the gutter could be inside that area potentially based on the design.
Has the survey been,
A
Survey
survey
has not been done?
That's what we're missing.
but I mean, has it been ordered and
No, not that I'm
not
aware
at this point in time?
I'd like to give the applicant a chance to talk if he would, if he wants to.
The young lady is his interpreter.
Okay?
Hi. Ricardo, my daughter, my translator. Dile que yo tengo una foto aquí que pues yo pude capturar, viste, de que porque la otra vez en la cita anterior si era seguro de los vientos en South Dakota, y pues aquí yo le estoy enseñando, viste, que los soldé desde el piso, que todo es soldado, que todo es soldado.
So he have in here some pictures.
Could you talk into the mic, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And
So-
state your name just so, because you're going out over the internet so that people know who's talking, all right?
My name is JD Moore. So he have some pictures in here that he wants to show you guys. He built it from the floor. It's just for the wind here in South Dakota that you guys asked for pictures. And he want to like show you guys about it.
Okay.
So how did you get your measurements from the property line?
Que si cómo sacaste ¿cómo se dice esto?
La medida.
La medida de la línea propia.
Es que yo no estaba informado que había una línea, no sabía que había que sacar un permiso, yo estaba desconocido de eso.
He said that he didn't know that he has to have like a permission and stuff, that he wasn't he didn't have the information.
So if we approve the 0 tonight, then is he committed to not finishing any of the structure until we get the report back from the survey? Would he commit to that tonight?
What do you mean?
That he will add more to the structure that's already there, won't
Okay.
build any more until we get the survey and determine that in fact it is within the 0 feet?
Porque que él dice que si, o sea, que si ellos te lo aprueban hoy, que si tú no, que si estarías dispuesto a no construir nada por ahora hasta que ellos te den el informe completo de todo. Que no pudieras construir nada hasta que ellos te manden ese informe.
Sí.
He said yes.
Yo lo que quiero es que me puedan ayudar en información en que yo debo de tener para terminar mi proyecto sin tener algún problema en South Dakota.
He said he wants you guys like to help him with the information that he have to like have in the house to have no trouble with South Dakota. You know what I mean?
And
So currently, there is a stop work order on that property. There has not been a building permit issued yet.
And he hasn't done anything since the stop work order has been there.
right, so if he was going, he would need to get a building permit before he would be able to proceed with any construction.
So if approved tonight, he'll work with John Haig in order to come to where we can to proceed on the structure.
So can you ask your dad, one of the things that Councilman Rice asked is if he might be able to put the drainage on the inside of the setback, I guess, on the inside of the top of your, whatever, the garage. Can he put that on the inside? Since there won't be any walls, would he be able to mount that in there?
Right,
Yeah,
that's,
right, if he needs to. I'm just wondering if that's even feasible.
Que si tú vas a poner como...
that would be through the building permit. We would make sure all those
Dile que
requirements
yo
are
voy a
followed.
recoger todo el agua,
Okay.
que nada del agua va a caer para
So when he goes over the building,
Yo voy a coger
he will not go over the
todo el agua en
zero
una
setback, is
canasta.
that correct, when it's all set?
Correct. So with the survey, we'll have them mark where the property line is, and then from there, we'll know what can be done, if the posts need to be reset or if they're good where they're at, those types of things.
So,
He's trying to put block.
I see that, yeah.
so he's saying that he's going to put the thing that you're talking about, he's going to put it like in the outside, like to the rain, go not to the sidewalk.
Okay, yeah. So that goes onto the grass.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second, yeah, to approve.
What's the motion again? I mean, with these conditions that the survey will be completed.
Conditions of a site survey be completed, is what we have so far.
I'll agree with that in the motion, put that in the motion of the survey.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. Anybody else in the audience want to address this? Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you.
Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 11/15/21. Helmet LLC has applied for conditional use permit for light manufacturing for custom cabinet woodworking shop at 120 South Lawler. Legally described as lots 10 and 11, block 20, original Mitchell, city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. Said real property is known as CB Central Business.
Set the date. Second.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Reconvene City Council, entertain a motion, Board of Adjustment to adjourn and City Council reconvene regular session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Shriners special event permit on June 11th, 2022. Road closure, parking lot closure, parade permit, escort enclosures, noise permit.
Mr. Mayor, Council, the El Riad Shriners are requesting the special event for Saturday, June 11th of '22. They'll request road closure on Main Street from 9th to the railroad tracks, and also on Lawler from 7th to 9th, and on 9th from Main to Lawler. Their staging area will be in the disco parking lot just to the east of Lawler there. We'll also reserve the lot northwest of the depot for after the parade breakdown and those types of things. And staff recommends approval. We do believe this is a national parade. We believe it will be only Shriners entering the parade, and from what I hear, it's a big deal.
Mr. Greenway, do you want to speak to any of that?
Just that they're going to ask to use our plaza for a meal combined with the parking lot and Shriner parking lot to feed the Shriners when they're here. So we're happy to bring them to town, and it's because of the murals with the circus theme that they're coming here. So we feel very privileged that they'll bring a clown parade to Mitchell with it could be several thousand Shriners.
And they're from all over, not just South Dakota.
Correct.
Any idea on how long the parade's going to last?
I think the closure is till 12:30 in the afternoon, right?
I didn't see that on there.
They're very early in the stages, so they're kind of getting a gauge on how big it's going to be. But they're
10 to
right
1.
now it
Okay.
says from 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
And we'll be working with them as we get closer.
So more,
and
okay.
So probably more to come.
And it's probably worth repeating, or if you've heard this for the first time, it's kind of a fun theme that we're doing with the Corn Palace this year, as Doug pointed out with the circus. But we're also putting, one of the murals are going to have the Fez cap that's up there that does identify that it is the Shriners. And then the other thing that I think is so cool is we've got one of our very own, Troy Magnuson, that is actually a Shriner, and he worked at the Corn Palace the past, whatever, 35 years giving tours. He is, with his outfit with popcorn, I think he calls himself, with the clown in the Shriners, and he is also one of the murals.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle. Second by Mrs. Charles. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? In favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve request for 15-mile-per-hour speed limit signs on Arrowhead Pass.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this request was brought to me by Jerry Ness, a resident in that area. He's requesting that 4 25-mile-per-hour signs be replaced with 15-mile-per-hour speed limit signs on Arrowhead Pass only.
Mayor, real quickly before you get started, I live in that area, so I will be abstaining if we decide to vote on anything.
All right.
Council, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I have to start out by giving you a little history lesson. And a few years ago, I was president of the Homeowners Association, which are the households surrounding this street. And at that time, I was asked by the members of the Homeowners Association at their annual meeting to meet with Mr. Overwig and request that signage be put up reducing or showing the speed limit. I did that on behalf of the Homeowners Association. Unfortunately, the thing I didn't do was to tell him that there was a park in the middle of Arrowhead Pass. Oh, it's up on the screen, you can see it. It's a private park. The problem is to access it, you need to come in from the right, which is the east. And of course, to do that, if you live on the outside of that, you have to cross that street. And the concern is that when you come down Arrowhead Pass, which when you're coming off of Ullman Street, it goes down. And so naturally, the cars are going, if they're going 25, you have that, well, you know, everybody drives a little bit more than, maybe I'm the only one. Oh, sorry. I'm not confessing. No, but you understand, 25 miles an hour is a little fast for a residential street where there's kids having to cross that street to gain access to the park. I think it really got highlighted that I failed to mention it, and that it should have been mentioned when I met with Mr. Overwig, in that we had a resident run over one of the neighbor's dogs. And it was like a child crossing the street, going to the inside. The driver wasn't going faster than he should have. He was going under 25. It was an accident. Nobody was really to blame, but we've got a dead dog in the neighborhood. And so that's kind of what prompted me to come back to the council and reconsider this, because of my failure to do so with Mr. Overwig the first time. I know there are, we do have other streets in town that are 15 mile an hour around parks, schoolyards. I mean, if you go down Main Street from 12th to First Street, it's 20 miles an hour, and there's stoplights and ways to cross the street. If you go by the schoolyards, which are posted at 15 miles an hour, you've got crossing paths, you've got school guards to do that, so it's protected. We've got, I know, 3 parks in Mitchell that have 15 mile an hour zones on the street adjoining the park.
Which parks are those?
Hitchcock is one of them. Let me pull this up here. I can tell you. Monroe and Patton Young. And if you want to pull it up on this,
Patton Young does, neither does Monroe.
Go to the, if you can pull up the Google Earth.
Patton Young does at 15 for the school, and it's only when it's flashing. All the other streets around Patton Young are 25 miles an hour.
Monroe's
Okay.
25.
But 1200 West Cedar, if you could pull that up.
Yep, there's a 15 mile mile-an-hour zone with a flashing light for when school is in session.
For Holy
Okay.
For Holy Spirit, that's a school zone, not a park zone.
And then East Hanson? Okay. And then Monroe, 1200 West Cedar?
Monroe's not 1200 West Cedar.
Or right, should say Monroe Park, 1200 West Cedar.
Monroe Park is a 25 mile an hour all around it.
Could you pull up 1200 West Cedar? Is that Pat Young?
That's not Monroe.
Okay.
Monroe's over by the middle school, a block east, two blocks east of the ice rink.
Well, the park's next to 1200 West Cedar, 11th in Wisconsin. 11th in Wisconsin would be which one?
That's Monroe.
Okay, then I've got it switched around. But those three parks do have 15 mile an hour.
But not because they're parks.
What about Hitchcock?
Is that going through the middle of Hitchcock or the middle or through the?
East Hanson,
I think that's 25.
but it's a 15 mile an hour zone.
Yeah, for swimming.
Okay, that's what I said it was a 15 mile an hour street. So that's the reason for the request, and
So Mr. Overwig's been gone for over 2 years, and you talked to him about this?
yeah,
So
oh yeah,
where have you been for the last 2 years?
living on the street. I didn't bring it up because,
So what prompted you to bring this up now?
well, like I said, 25 seems to be a little too fast for that street, and I think the dog being killed has brought it to my attention, and so I thought perhaps, this is going to affect mainly the residents.
And you live in a homeowners association, right?
Yes.
Have you guys had a meeting on it? or
I've talked to a few of them since then who've said we should have it reduced, yes.
Well, there's an email here from Quentin Flippin, who is apparently the current association president.
Yes.
He says, I am emailing regarding item 14 on the agenda for tonight's November 1st City Council meeting. The agenda item is a request for changing the existing 25 mile per hour speed limit signs to 15 mile per hour on Arrowhead Pass. As you know, Arrowhead Pass is the Wedgewood Homeowners Association, of which I am now the association president. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend tonight's meeting, so I thought I would send this email for your consideration. The proposed change would affect many families within our homeowners association. It is very possible that not all homeowners association members would have agreed with the proposed change. As president of our homeowners association, I would want to make sure that all HOA members have the ability to discuss and offer feedback in a change that would affect their daily lives. Instead of acting on a single resident's request for perhaps creating additional concerns with our homeowners association members. I respectfully ask that the city consider deferring judgment until a time in which our association would have voted on such a matter and is able to bring a HOA member consensus request to the council if the members of the HOA decide to change the warranted. Thank you for your consideration, Quentin Flippin. So, you haven't taken it to the homeowners association?
No, we had our meeting this summer and it was not brought up at that time.
I also got a phone call today but asking if we could table this until the homeowners association could have time to act on it and try to solve the problem themselves.
Okay. Then that will be done. We'll wait till our next meeting, and then if they want to do it, we'll bring it back then, if that's okay?
So we'll make a motion to table it.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for your time.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Rice. Excuse me, Mr. Savers. Sorry. You look the same. Any further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action approved resolution R 2021-71, plat of lots 20 and 21, block 7 of Westwood, First Edition, City of Metro Davis County, South Dakota, as requested by CGM Consulting.
Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent. It fits the master plan. Elevation certificates have been obtained already. There are no issues from planning, zoning, or public works with it.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen. Second. Second by Mrs. Cherks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-72, plat of Lot 2, Block 4A, a subdivision of Block 4, Westwood First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota, as requested by CJM Consultant.
Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with 1 absent. Again, elevation record has been obtained. It fits the master plan. Planning and zoning has no issues. Public Works has no issues with this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Church, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-73, plat of Lot 9, Block 9 of Westwood First Edition, a subdivision of Block 4, Westwood First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota, as requested by CJM Consultant.
Planning Commission recommended approval 6-0 with 1 absent. It fits with the master plan. Elevation record has been obtained. Planning and zoning has no issues. Public Works has no issues with this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-74, a plat of Lot 56 of the Island First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota, as requested by CJM Consultant. Janegas.
Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with 1 absent. Fits the master plan. Elevation certificate has been obtained by it. Planning and zoning has no issues. Public Works has no issues with it.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2021-75, plat of Lot 1-A, a subdivision of Lot 1 of Circle K Ranch, 3rd Edition, in Government Lot 4 of the northwest quarter of Section 6, Township 103 North, Range 60 west of the 55th Prime Meridian, Davidson County, South Dakota, as requested by Brandon Kazar.
Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with 1 absent. An elevation certificate has been obtained. This is in the ETJ, but is in the zoning jurisdiction of the City of Mitchell. County will hear it tomorrow night. Planning Commission's County Commission will hear it the following Tuesday. Only concern we have will be during the building permit process of it, with it being at the location it is near the lake. Certain restrictions will have to be for their septic system, but that can be taken care of during the building permit process.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rice.
Second.
Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion?
What kind of restrictions do they have there? What would you put on it?
Since it can't be, nothing can be built below high water mark, which is 1266 of the lake. At that elevations around there, it's about 1302 for most of it. So they can still do a walkout like they would like. Within the distance to the lake, it's going to be around 350 to 375. So the type of septic system that it can be, whether it can be a closed or they can use actually a tile system with it, would be the restriction.
Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Yep.
Action on Resolution R 2021-76, transfer of Lot 6. I think you got 2 actions. 6, 7, and part of Lot 5, Block 13, original Mitchell. Mr. Johnson.
All right. Well, the council previously declared this particular property surplus. We've gone through the statutory requirements to have the property appraised, notice provided, and listed with a broker. At this point, the city has received 1 offer in relation to the property. The offer was submitted by Anissa Deinert in the amount of $12,000, and the buyer would be responsible for all the fees in relation to the transaction as well. If you recall, we don't have it drawn, go back to the map. So if you recall, There's actually 3 lots called out when this was declared surplus. They're not shown individually here, but first one would be the first 25 feet, second would be the second 25 feet, and then the last would be the remainder of this section back here. The parts that would be getting sold are the first 2 lots next to Jade's, and then the remainder of this portion actually reverts back to the owner of this lot. Per the deed restriction, when the city stops using this area as a parking lot, it automatically reverts back to the owner of this lot. So I think that gives you the summary of everything. So if there's any questions, I'll open it up for that.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid. We have plenty of parking lots. We don't need more of them, so.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. McCardle.
And the purchaser is associated with Jade's then?
Yes, I believe that's the current owner of Jade's Bar.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Sharps. Okay, further discussion?
And it has been listed with the Realtor, and it's been advertised for 3-4 weeks, as I understand.
Something like that, 3 weeks roughly?
Yes.
You can talk if you want, you don't have to. It's up to you. Just state your names to the people watching at home.
I am the realtor representing the city in the listing of lots 6 and 7 to exclude the 88 feet of lot 5. My name is Colleen Hunt. I'm with Mitchell Realty. I've been a realtor in Mitchell for 6 years. The lot was listed for $40,000 based on this assessment given by the 3 independent appraisals appointed by the city, Kevin Genslinger, Terry Acker, and Colton Jungerman. They came up with a number that they felt the lot would be worth in value. However, I also did my own CMA, current market analysis of what those lots would value at in today's market. I used courthouse information to assess that value. The offer that's in front of you, she is including, she will pay for all of the closing and title costs. The city is going to do a quick claim on the property. She is the only offer that has come in. They've had several people that have contacted me, but no one has come forward with any other offers.
You had a sign up for what, 2 or 3 weeks before?
I had a sign up there since, yeah, it's been over 3.5 weeks. Yeah.
Drive by.
Yep. Now that you see me, you know what's on the sign.
And
yes.
Just for the record as well, the legal notices were published in the Republic on October 16th and October 27th, so.
And it is on the Realtor's website. It is on MLS. Okay.
Okay.
And it's currently utilized as a parking lot right now, is that? Would that be a
Correct.
true
Right
statement?
now, the city maintains it, takes care of it.
Correct.
And we have all kinds of parking around that area.
I would
There's 2 parking lots to the west of the building in the Veterans Park, and in a block, or block and a half. Yeah, block and a half to the east is another parking lot behind the Main Street businesses on the east side. And then, of course, there's the second and Raleigh parking lot behind Dr. Lucky's, the VFW, and ours, and those things. So there's a lot of parking around it.
Well, anytime we can take property and get it off our tax, or get it back on the tax rolls, it certainly makes sense, as long as we have some rationale behind it. And as far as I'm concerned, with the property that we purchased, where the Veterans Park is, and then to the east, there was 2 or 3 buildings we took down, and now that is public parking. And like the Mayor brought up, there's, on the east side of Main Street, there's a public parking lot also. So to me, it really doesn't make any sense to hang on to additional parking right on Main Street when they've got access within a half a block of it. So I'm going to be in favor of this.
Further discussion? Anybody else in the audience wish to address this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, on to the ordinance. First reading of ordinance O 2021-15, 2022 annual appropriations ordinance. Ms. Zellwein.
Included in your packet, I did update the narratives for the annual budget, the capital improvements, and then the capital projects map. We didn't change anything. We also added the sidewalk parking projects that council requested, and I did put in the review items from the last budget work session. My mouse is lost. Oh, here it is. Okay, sorry about that. And the annual budget fund overview, and then the budget detail. The items that council discussed would have been listed on this, and we can certainly go through any other discussion items or changes that you might have. We don't have anything else to go over other than what's already been presented. I can certainly take time and walk through it again, but I assume you might want to do that at the second reading after all changes have been made. I can answer any questions that you might have, or I can certainly walk through it if you'd like me to as well.
I think we have a little bit of unfinished business regarding Dakota counseling, so I don't know. See, Michelle, do you want to come up? And I think you probably received quite a few questions. Do you have any information that you want to share with us tonight?
Gosh, I really don't. Just opening it back up to questions if anybody had anything after my follow-up information.
I guess just for the public's information or anyone that maybe didn't see the last hearing, the dollar amount was discussed. It's shown up here on the board. Council had requested that we get current financial information as well as the utilization numbers. We did send that out, so you have that for review.
And we got that same information from everybody.
I think so, yeah.
You think?
Oh, yeah, we asked for it in everybody's, application materials as well. Yep.
You guys do all the stepping stones counseling?
Yes, we do.
And how much of that is, what percentage would you, it's a tough question probably, of that is of your business?
I'm going to say stepping stones is, you know, again, hard to judge because we have the inpatient facility there, but that's not necessarily where we use the city dollars. Stepping stones is probably, it's about half and half with mental health, but we have more mental health patients. It's just a less intense than the inpatient treatment. The city dollars are actually used for crisis consults when folks are suicidal or needing to be removed from schools and such.
That's what it's earmarked for?
Yes.
But it's all coming out of the same general fund?
It's one agency, so, I mean, yeah, however you want to figure it, but, you know, like when I met with you last time, the point I was trying to make is the city of Mitchell has grown, and crisis has grown, so.
And then, on the crisis, I don't quite understand all that. Explain how that works to me a little bit.
So whether somebody contacts us, they might call at 2 in the morning. We have somebody available to talk to. There might be somebody who's threatening with their family, and law enforcement has to get involved and remove them. It might be somebody at the hospital. They'll call us, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The numbers I sent you are actual numbers from last year of and the consultation might take 5 minutes to say we really need to get this person more intense help, and then there's a whole legal process to get them hospitalized either in Yankton or Vera McKinnon in Sioux Falls or Vera Behavioral Health in Sioux Falls. But sometimes it's, you know, those calls can take anywhere from a half an hour to 8 hours, especially if you have juveniles involved.
Then out of your whole area, it looks like Mitchell's the most populated. Do you track your calls as far as the city of Mitchell, like percentages? Does Mitchell use 20% or 80% of them calls?
Oh, I'd say 80, easy.
One more thing, I see we were given 62,000 for a lot of years. So I'm assuming you just asked for less later on?
No. No. That came at your guys' blessing.
So I asked you about the money that you received, the COVID dollars that you received,
Yes.
and you've got a hefty amount in your bank account. Do you have plans for that money? Is that earmarked for something?
Yeah, it's gone.
It's gone?
It's gone.
Oh.
No, not entirely, but for the most part. We did do Hero Pay. Some of that was earmarked when we applied for that COVID grant to give our staff, as many businesses did, I believe, some type of incentive bonus for working through the pandemic, running those 24-hour facilities as you're having an outbreak in them. Just the additional staff, the overtime, the personal protective gear. I think when I had responded to you, that the cash that I had in the bank on 12/31, we literally got that on 12/31. If we had gotten it on 1/2, it wouldn't even have been in there. So we didn't have the opportunity to get it to our staff yet. That came in February. And then, so a good chunk of that went right back to our employees. I mean, we really try to take care of the staff that are working with folks. And then, but that cash balance was still less than 6 months of expenses. And by the end of this year, I expect we will still be within our 3-month threshold.
And you said that there are some Phase 4 dollars that you're anticipating, is that right?
Hoping for, through Health and Human Services, there's been 4 phases. Some of those were percentages that were paid out to medical facilities that, based on their Medicare and Medicaid billings. And since we have such a high percentage of Medicaid, some of that is what came through at the end of the year.
I mean, I just want to go on record of saying there is no question that the work that you do is extremely valuable and extremely important to our community. So I hope that you don't doubt that we feel that way. We just want to make sure that we're being, good servants and good stewards of the city's money. But I certainly don't want to see you guys not get anything. So I'm going to make a motion that we give Dakota Counseling that $26,250 that we gave them last year.
I'd second that.
Okay. I've got, I want to make a comment. We keep talking about the amount of services that go to the city, but the statutory requirement for running these programs is a county requirement. And as far as I know, everybody in the city of Mitchell is in the county. And everybody that owns property in the city of Mitchell pays taxes to the county. And yet we talk about coming back to the city for additional money when the city's requirement to this goes through county property taxes. Then the county is the one that's responsible, and everybody that lives in Mitchell lives in Davison County. The opposite isn't true. Everybody that lives in the county doesn't live in the city of Mitchell. And we don't charge county residents city property taxes. And I just struggle with the fact that the request is coming to the city. It's a general fund request, so therefore it's property tax and sales tax driven. And I just don't get the comment that, that we provide these services to the city. No, you provide the services to the county residents. Doesn't matter where they live in the county.
It's been going on, Steve, at least 15 years.
I know that.
And why hasn't
I-
it been addressed?
I don't,
Part of it has been, that's part of why it was reduced the last few years, was with that comment in the subsidy committee that has reviewed it since, at least since 2018. That's the only distance back I can speak to, but.
Now, Susan, I'll echo your comment. They do fantastic work, and I'm not opposed to $26,250, but the mechanism of asking for money from the city is a broken mechanism for supporting this institution. It's a county requirement. And I pay county taxes. So therefore, I'm paying for services at this institution, to the county. I shouldn't be paying them to the city also.
Just for a way of history, Mayor, I can tell you back in 2017, when council started reducing the subsidy, it was because the increases were only being passed on, I believe, at the time to the city. The city was giving at a higher level than other entities, and at that time, council said you wanted to go them to seek out other governmental increases, not just the city subsidizing the difference. So the reductions you can see started in 2017. It went down to 50,000. 2019, it was brought down to 40,000, and then 2020 was down to 35, and then last year everybody's was reduced, but along what the mayor had said, to try to reduce that amount just from the city.
Do you have any reports as far as what other agencies and other areas, as far as percentage from city and county?
I don't have the percentages, but I do know that Watertown, Pier, and Yankton also support their community centers.
And do you know, as far as the level compared to where we're at and them? Probably an unfair question to ask.
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't. I can get that information from those directors if that's something that you would like.
No, I was just curious, and I should have been this asked the last time, so you had time to do your research, but.
This is part of what we looked at, was looked at in the subsidy committee. Of course, we are the highest, second only to United Way, right.
But I wasn't aware of the 80% are from Mitchell. I mean, that, and I do think that there's a ripple effect to the city with that. There, that does affect our police force, because there is I think a case could be made that it does have a direct effect on our city.
And I really appreciate that comment, because it's not just the law enforcement at that point in time, it's also our schools. Working directly with them and their resource officers, bringing them directly to our office, so.
Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Okay, we have a motion and a second to increase it to $26,250 as given in 20.
Did you do the quick math, Stephanie?
The increase would be 11,950, and I assume that you would be taking that off contingency, correct? So you'd increase this amount by 11,950 and decrease contingency by the equivalent? Is that right?
So we're still in the 800,000?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're still a structurally balanced budget that way.
Great.
Okay. All right. Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Other discussion on budget? This is first reading. This is your chance.
I need to find the page here. And it's just a question on theory of why a couple things are different. Okay. Page 313 of the packet, but it's ordinance 2021-15, the appropriation ordinance. And we've got some funds, so 602, 604, 606 funds be the next page down, I think. No, maybe the next one.
Sorry, I just can't see it when it's that small.
Why, with beginning unrestricted cash, why did we take some down to zero and some not? Like airport and golf down to zero, and Corn Palace, they started with 56,000 and we left them with 56,000. What's the strategy of why that's done?
That's where the anticipated fund is projected to be at the end of the year. And like in Corn Palace, it was budgeted even revenues, the same amount in revenues and the same amount in expenses, and that's why it ends the same too.
Michelle does the estimated cash balance. She looks at what the budgeted revenue and expenditures are for 2021. It is likely that golf is going to end higher than zero, that it looks like, and airport will likely end higher than zero too. But the problem is those are unbudgeted revenue that was received in 2021, and they're just using the budgeted numbers to do the estimation. So we'll have a clearer picture after December 31st.
Okay. So then I go back to the Corn Palace, and I know I don't care what the revenue said that was going to be, we missed it by hundreds of thousands of dollars this last year.
Yeah, but they also got $110,000 or $112,000 grant in for the lost revenue.
Right, but if I go back historically, I mean, Corn Palace, we
So you're
say
talking like
we
all
say
the-
we're going to do 2 million and we only do 1.5 million, and that happens over and over and over again, but we don't budget it that way.
Well, actually, we do, because the difference comes from the general fund transfer.
Right,
and
so
the
why are
entertainment
we
tax
just taking
transfer.
it from general fund automatically and why don't we do that with the airport and the golf and other things?
Well, because technically, those are enterprise funds, and if they're going to stay enterprise funds, they're supposed to be self-supporting.
Right,
The
but-
Corn Palace never has been, and we did have legislative audit tell us several years ago that it should be moved to a special revenue fund because it never is self-supporting. So it's not good to compare to the Corn Palace because it is so far off balance, and really half of what you do there can't be self-supporting when you're putting corn on the building that you're not getting revenue back for. So, but if you look at Gulf Fund and airport's just, it's a weird bugger to try to even forecast, because half of the revenue that we get is federal grants that we don't know we're getting till the end of the year. So you'll see next year in the budget that we anticipate a transfer of cash into airport because their budget looks like they're not going to have anything in there. But we also know that they're going to get a federal grant for some of the money that they have to spend up front back. So we know it's going to work out. You just have to show it the way it's budgeted. So I know it looks weird.
It does.
It does. And normally you wouldn't probably see any anticipated cash in reserves for Corn Palace. The only reason why we're showing that is because they did get that grant in that was unanticipated this year. So that's the only reason why they would likely have cash. And at some point in the future, we need to talk about whether it's going to continue to be an enterprise fund. It's easier for us to have it as an enterprise fund because there's so many. If you had to do supplemental appropriations every time that we're going to do a concert,
right,
you guys would, that would be a whole lot of extra legal publications and everything else. So
And my question is, I just want to make sure I understand the strategy of when we move money and when we don't move money and how we budget that. And, you know, I understand, it comes back and it eventually washes out, but very few people probably see it from the beginning to the end where it washes out.
I think the easiest one for me to show an example of would be the sanitation fund. And if you look at our beginning balance and our estimated revenue and then what we're spending in expenses, you can see the difference between the two is about $668,000. And if you look on that fund difference overview that was also online, you'll be able to see, oh my word, that is really little.
Sanitation.
Can someone else read it?
Yeah.
Okay, right here, I think it is. So this is towards the self-war construction, 699. And so that's why you're showing your beginning cash balance is about $700,000 different than our ending, because we're using some of those reserves to pay for that construction cost. I don't know if that helps. The Corn Palace is just a really hard thing to compare anything to because it's just a different beast. It's just difficult. Sorry.
Nope, that's fine, great, that's. yep,
Stephanie,
what I
for
wanted to know.
the benefit of the people that are in the audience, will you bring up that subsidy in the narrative? So they know what we talked about last time is basically is what exactly is in the budget, but I'm sure they would be very anxious to see their number.
The annual budget overview, the narrative overview that shows what the
subsidy
request.
Yeah, let's see, what page is that? Oh, it's the last page.
See if I can scroll fast enough. Right here.
There we go. Okay.
Yes.
It's pretty tiny, but
Yep. So the only one that will change now, and you can see that I believe the yellow was the 2021 budget, the green is the 22 application.
Right.
And then the red is what was currently in the 22 budget.
that's currently
Yep.
in the budget.
So you can see there, this one came up. No, I think I updated this one. Yes, I did. Good job. Okay. So the only one that would change would be this one. We're going to move this red line from 14.3. It'll get moved up to the 26.250.
Yep.
So it'll match last year's budget, which is the gold line.
Okay.
Does that make sense
It
for
does.
everybody?
It does, and I'm assuming that will,
I think that's the
Probably.
easiest snapshot to see
Right.
what you've done.
right? And then the other thing that's not showing on there, though, is the increase in the part-time at the library. That is included in.
Yep, and that shows on this one, on the annual budget council review items. If you scroll to the bottom